Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to read an article titled, I demand a divorce out of the blue, but 5 years later, I'm still in love with my husband and wish we could get back together. And a shout out to Dave for sending me this article. And guys, what we have here is an article about a woman. She is now in her late 40s. And she is, this whole thing is about her singing the blues about how she completely screwed up her marriage. 5 or 6 years earlier, she blew a gasket and had enough was enough with her husband, who just wasn't helping out enough around the house, and she had to do everything, blah, 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 and told him that all these nasty things and wanted to end it. And to her surprise, he did too. And you're going to see that she's now realizing the grass isn't greener on the other side. She hasn't found any great guys that she wants to be with. Life isn't that rosy, and she wants him back. And now she's writing this article, probably hoping he sees it and will forgive her and take her back. Well, it ain't happening. And I'll be going to go over here, guys, just to show you that there's a point, guys, if your marriage is that bad, it's best to end it. And you're going to see when she says a bunch of nasty things to her husband, he's like, yeah, we're done, and walks away. And he meant it. And you're going to see a lot of clues here that while she tries to paint the picture that he was this villain and making things hard for her and all that type of stuff, he was a good husband. She was just going through what a lot of people go through in their middle age, stress with the kids, stress with elderly parents and all that, but decided to take it out on him. And I might add, she was a stay-at-home mom. He paid all the bills, but yet she was freaking out because, God forbid, aside from doing the grind every day to take care of the family, 3 kids, he wasn't folding laundry or wasn't doing this. It's ridiculous. So I've been going to go over here to show you yet another example of a gal who, thought I could do so much better once I divorced that SOB husband, and then when she's alone in the 40s and realizing, guess what, it isn't so easy and he wasn't that bad of a guy. She says, walking into the living room, cake blazing, my daughters and I burst into a chorus of happy birthday while I carefully tiptoed towards the delighted birthday boy in question. My girls, aged 14, 12, and 10, rush to their dad, enveloping him in a group hug. I catch his eye, we smile at one another as he leans forward and blows out the number 50 candle. Happy birthday, Dad. An hour later, after presents have been opened, I take my leave. No one notices me go, or even barely acknowledges my feeble goodbye. You see, this isn't my home. The girls are staying with their father this evening to continue the celebrations. It's his house, not mine. Not for the first time, as I drove home that evening, I end up pulling over and bursting into tears as I chastise myself over and over again for ending my marriage 5 years ago when I was 44. Here we go. I bitterly regret acting in such haste, not just because now I see that it was stupid, impulsive thing to do, but because I still love my ex-husband. Yeah, nobody is crying for you, honey. You brought this all on yourself. Lawrence was not unfaithful. He didn't treat me cruelly. He is a fantastic father, and he didn't have any weird issues either. My impetus for pressing the self-destruct button on my 15-year marriage was a lot more mundane than that. I was dissatisfied, insecure, and worn down by what I perceived as the drudge of my life, and I lost my temper with him once too often. Hey, relationships aren't always easy. And there are ups and downs. And marriages aren't easy, particularly with kids. There's ups and downs. But this is a lot of just the similar stupid crap that you hear all the time, guys. And here we have an article. Woe is me. I screwed everything up. Feel bad for me. Blah, blah, blah. When this guy would have been perfectly happy staying married to her, but she had to go fuck the whole thing up. She says, truthfully, it's not that I haven't built a life for myself since our split. I've been seeing my partner, Tom, for 2 years. He idolizes me, yet while I do love him, whenever I find myself comparing the two of them, I'm afraid Tom pales in comparison with my ex-husband. If Lawrence asked me to try again, I'd dump Tom without a backward glance. Well, here's the question. She initiated the divorce, and she's claiming how she's in love with her ex-husband, and she misses her old life, and she screwed it all up. And obviously, she says her partner, Tom, and he says he idolizes her, which means Tom puts her on a pedestal, kisses her ass, and to no surprise, she's like, to Tom. If she found a guy that was very well off financially, damn good income, looked darn good for his age, do you think she'd be writing this article? Probably not. She didn't find the type of guy she thought she could, that all her girlfriends probably told her she could. It doesn't work in that way for her. But 5 years ago, with 3 daughters under 10 and a chronically ill parent, life was unrelenting. There were times in my early 40s when I wondered what on earth I'd done to deserve such a life. As a stay-at-home mum, my life ran on constant loop of school run, chores, seeing my parents, school run, clubs, cook, bath, and bed, repeat. Occasionally, I get to go to the gym, and even more rarely, get to have coffee with my girlfriends. Hey, I'm not saying that sounds like a whole lot of fun, because yeah, you get to your 40s, you're looking in on your parents because they're getting older. I'm looking on my mom as often as I can, and I got older people in my family. And then you have kids and school and all those things. But newsflash, lady, you are the one. It took 2 to tango to give birth to those multiple children. You should have known what you're getting into. And this is the stage that, yeah, you're going to be doing all that crap. And you're a stay-at-home mom. I'm not saying that it's, running the houses can be tiring at times, but you're not out there on the grind every day like your husband paying all the bills. I mean, yeah, it ain't great, but I bet you if she was working all the time, then she'd be complaining about how, the boss, and the clients, and the coworkers. There's no making them fucking happy. I'm not saying she can't be stressed, and this is this stage, and it's a stage that isn't fun, but for God's sakes. And you got to take it out on your husband? Meanwhile, Lawrence went to work and saw his friends afterwards, if it suited him, only helping out with the chores and play dates at the weekends. And the one thing I really took umbrage with, had created a man cave at home just for him. You're at home all day, and you said you have kids under 10. Guess what? They're in school. Unless I'm missing something, those kids are of age that they're in school all day. So, yes, okay, you're cooking and cleaning and all that, but come on here. It's not like you have 3 kids in diapers running around at the same fucking time. The kids are off in school all day. So you have a little peace and quiet and all that. So if he's at work all day, and this isn't just his 9 to 5, it's the commute, and probably nobody works 9 to 5 anymore in a career, he deserves to go out and have a beer with his bros. He deserves to have a little bit of man cave to himself, because he is paying all the fucking bills. You know? Come on here. Again, these kids are in school, so it's not like she has them all the time. And I know stay-at-home moms, and once the kids are gone, they do some things at home, but the rest of the time, they got plenty of time on their hands. The 10-foot by 13-foot space filled with his books, computer games, and boys' toys came to represent everything I resented about the unfairness in our relationship. Unfairness? Didn't you agree to all this? I'm sure she probably wasn't the one that wanted all the kids. Why did he get to have a sanctuary away from the responsibilities of parenthood and running our home when I was the one shouldering the vast majority of the burden? You were shouldering the vast majority of the burden because you were the stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom. You weren't going to work and earning the income. So yes, you had to shoulder the vast majority of the burden. That was the arrangement. Over the years, what began as an in-joke between my girlfriends built into constant simmering resentment, further fueled by their own stories of husbands not doing their fair share. Yeah, I never addressed it with him, something I now bitterly regret. You mean you didn't communicate? You mean communication is key for success in a relationship? Gee whiz, anybody could have told you that getting into a relationship or marriage. Should I have also sought professional psychological support through this tough period? All I remember was feeling constantly tired, stressed, guilty, and resentful. I was short with the girls and even shorter with Lawrence. And Lawrence shouldn't put up with that shit. And if you're blown up with the girls because of something that you're unhappy with, then you need fucking professional help. But those her girlfriends are filling your head with more bullshit. On one cold Sunday morning in January, when he'd left his mug near the dishwasher instead of putting it in the machine, I let rip. You freaked out because he didn't put his mug in the in the dishwasher? I'm not kidding, guys, when I tell you guys, you think everybody's going to be great, you move with your girl, or if you're going to get married, move in with her, and you can see what she's really like, because God forbid you don't put the toilet seat down, or screw the cap on the toothpaste, or put the mug in the dishwasher, and it's fucking pandemonium, then you know what you're getting into. I understand it was all the other shit building up inside that let her blow up over something stupid like a fucking mug, but the point is, a fucking mug. It all came out. What a selfish father he was, spending hours in his man cave that he never lifted a finger in the kitchen. How underwhelming he was in bed. Ooh, ouch. Actually, he wasn't. If anything, I was the underperformer, constantly finding excuses not to get intimate, and when we did do it, actually willing it to be over so that I could get some sleep. So, First, she has to say he underwhelmed her in bed, but actually she never wanted to hook up. But when she did, she was wishing it'd be over. It's not making her happy. Now, she doesn't say anything here like he's overweight or he's skinny like a fucking skeleton or something like that. It seems like, I guess, he's a decent-looking guy. But she was just so miserable, so unhappy, just, this is when she needed to communicate in a way he understands that she's unhappy. And if he loved her, which I think he certainly did, would have helped her get help or some therapy or something. Yeah. Being a parent ain't easy, and being middle-aged with you worrying about your kids and your parents and all that, that's a lot. I'm not denying that. But those kids were in school all goddamn day. And of course he's not going to do all the dishes and laundry and all that. I'm sure he probably mowed the lawn in the summertime. She didn't mention the lawn care or cleaning the garage, doing man stuff. I saw him, says here, I saw him wince, yet seething red. I carried on, shouting that we weren't even husband and wife. We were just partners bringing our children up. I then uttered the words, I really wish I hadn't. We should just call it quits. I want someone better than you. There you go. She snaps. Good communication would have prevented this. I want someone better than you. Okay, let's pause this for a moment, gentlemen, because I know you're all thinking it. She's mid-40s. She has no career. She hasn't worked in a long time. So it's not like she's going to likely be bringing in a lot of money. She is in mid-40s, single MOM if they get divorced with 3 kids. The type of guys that she's going to want, the type of guys she'll see as a prize that will add value to her life, aren't going to want a mid-40s, single MOM of 3 kids who hasn't had a career, hasn't worked in all those years, didn't bring anything to the table themselves. They're going to be going after gals that are younger, that don't have a whole bunch of kids. But in her mind, and probably what was put there by her other unhappy housewives, there you go. By the time I finished spewing out my awful tirade, I crumpled on the floor where I burst out into tears. Shocker. I assume that just like the other occasions when I had a monumental meltdown, did she say meltdown? Okay. Lawrence would kneel down and give me a soothing hug. Not this time, he walked out of the room. Well, good for Lawrence. Lawrence is probably like, what the fuck? This is the arrangement that you agreed to. This is the arrangement that you wanted. You wanted all these kids too. You agree. You partook in all the making the kids. At least we hope it was with him. We hope those are his kids. And I'm away from probably not 9 to 5, probably more like 8 to 7 every day, 5 days a week. And I do mowing the yard. I take care of things around the house. I'm the protector. I'm the guide. I'm all these types of things. That ain't good enough for you. He's out of there. And you should never... Guys, whenever a woman is blowing up at you about stupid shit, you walk. If she can't calmly have a conversation with you, walk. That night, he went to stay at his mom's house, and after calling him throughout the night with no reply, the following day, an email arrived telling me that I was right, we should call it quits. Ooh... She crossed the line with him. No, I'm sure Lawrence could tell their marriage just was a business. It was just a partnership, raising the kids. That's a lot of marriages. Apparently, life was too short to walk on eggshells around me. He could never predict when I would erupt, scorching everything around me, and then expecting I'll be forgiven in a heartbeat. So, clearly she has a history of this bullshit. She's unhappy and can't communicate about that. Lets it all build up. And she explodes, and she always expects to get a hug and be forgiven until she recharges all her anger, blows up again. Round and round you go. Yeah, this happens apparently all the time. Although Lawrence considered me a great mother, his rating of me as a wife was pretty poor, and he'd had enough. That was a low blow. Well, Lawrence is about to get a lot of blows once he's a free man. The world stopped turning. I couldn't believe things had gotten to this point. When I said those awful words in the heat of the moment, I never meant that we should actually split up. It sounds like you meant to split up to me. You all heard. I'm gonna read this again. Where the hell is it? What she said. Where the hell is it here? What a selfish father he was, spending hours in his man cave. They never lifted a finger in the kitchen. How underwhelming he was in bed. Blah, 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 blah. As what else did she say here? That we should just call it quits. I want someone better than you. Yeah, that spelled it out pretty well. We started out with such high hopes. Lawrence and I got together when we both worked at the same bank, and we were joined at the hip from the start. After dating a year, I fell pregnant, and he proposed. She fell pregnant? That's what they call it. When our first daughter arrived, I took extended maternity leave and never went back to the bank. I adore being a mother and have always operated from a position that mom knows best, and I became a bit of a perfectionist and tyrant. 1 year of dating, she gets pregnant. How interesting the timing there. Okay, so let's do the math. So she said the mid-40s. She's mid-40s when she wanted to get... She's about late 40s now. I think they said they're celebrating their oldest, 15th birthday. Or no, I'm wrong. I think that she probably got pregnant around 30 years old. That's what it sounds like. So, what interesting timing. How amazing. And how you know that kid was his. And boom, they're married. Which shows that he was a good guy. I wouldn't have done that. I would have waited some time. But she became a perfectionist and a tyrant. That tyrant mom. Lawrence tried to help, but if things weren't done my way, then it was the wrong way. And that is why you wait a long time to get to know your girl. Lawrence didn't know her that long and he married her. Today I recognize I sound like an utter nut. But when you're sleep deprived, forever catching up on chores, I didn't have the time or patience to see it. I didn't appreciate what we had. Lawrence was a programmer, hence the man cave, and he earned a decent 5-figure salary. Living in the Midlands meant we could afford a family summer holiday every year, and we'd have film nights at my home, and the odd date night out as a couple too. I never doubted that he loved me. And yet, there's no making her happy. The "it's over" email was, I thought, a knee-jerk reaction. So I left him to cool off for a few days. I told the girls that Daddy needed to spend some time with his mom for a bit, and then she was unwell. But after a week, it was pretty clear he wasn't coming back. Good for Lawrence. Smack to Lawrence for marrying her that quickly, and obviously not taking care of things with protection. She got pregnant a year after they started dating. He thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't know her well enough. Nope, Lawrence is done. Fast forward 9 months, and I was officially a divorcee. During the negotiations, egged on by my girlfriends, who were navigating similar relationship issues, I reluctantly assumed it was the right decision after all. You hear that? Her own girlfriends, who were equally unhappy, we were all going to be single together and find ourselves better men. They're egging her on. Even my solicitors steered me firmly back on the divorce track whenever I had a wobble. I got everything I asked for: custody of the kids, the house, and maintenance. Lawrence found a smaller property with enough room for the girls. So after all this, the house, the custody of the kids, maintenance, everything, probably alimony. But you know what? Lawrence was like, you know what? I'm done. After all these years of being with this tyrant, after all her outbursts and blowing up and bad communication and all this other shit, I'm done. I'd rather take the hit and spend the rest of my life on my terms. She says, yet plagued by doubts, on more than one occasion, I tried to call it off. Once, in a rare face-to-face during a child handover, I pleaded for another chance to see a relationship counselor together. It was to no available. Whenever I asked Lawrence if we should reconsider, he'd stonewall me. How many stories have I done, guys? When a guy's done, he is done. Why would he want to get back with her? She described herself as a tyrant, her way or the highway, and all other bullshit. He's done. In a last desperate attempt just before the divorce was finalized, after arranging a babysitter, I turned up unannounced, begging him to talk things through. He coldly asked me to leave. Even a month after the divorce went through, I wasn't put off and gave it another go. This time he did let me in. As we were now officially divorced, I pleaded, could we at least be friends? Oh, for God's sakes. No, you can't go from being married all those years and all that, and once having a romantic relationship to being just friends. It doesn't work that way. No, we will be civil together and get along for the kids' sake, nothing more. I saw the Lawrence I fell in love with that night. Funny, charming, and one glass of wine led to another, and we ended up in bed together. Smack! Dumbass. Before I left, while he was still asleep, I scribbled a heartfelt note telling how much I loved him and how I'd hoped this could be the start of a new us. The following day, I received a curt text informing me that it had been a mistake. Damn right it was a mistake. Thank God he didn't sleep with her before they divorced, because if he did, that would have screwed the whole thing up. The following 2 years post-divorce went by in a blur of handovers every other weekend and Wednesday nights. I hated doing the walk of shame when I leave the girls with him, convinced the neighbors were watching, judging me as the woman who had the perfect family and threw it away. He did throw it away. And again, I'm not going to discount that she wasn't stressed. Hey, having a bunch of kids, I'm not a parent, so I don't get it, but I have family and friends that have children and have had them through all stages. Yeah, being a parent's stressful. and then worrying about your parents that are aging and trying to be strong for everybody and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's stressful. But still, people do it. They've been doing it since we crawled out of the caves, and they're going to do it until we blow each other to smithereens one day, or the earth gets so hot or so cold or something like that, whatever the climate freaks say. You know? But it doesn't give you the right to treat the people that you love and that love you back like shit, particularly your husband. So nobody's feeling bad for you. You made your bed, you got to lie in it. End of fucking story. In my social circle, opinions fell into two camps. My family thought I'd taken leave of my senses, yet my friends told me that I'd done the right thing. And who should you listen to? Your family. Of course the friends are all saying that because they want somebody else to back up their own bad decision making. I understand now that their advice was prejudiced by their own marital issues, and I wish I hadn't been so influenced by their bitter perspectives. And this, gentlemen, is why you pay attention to who your wife or girlfriend or fiance hangs out with, because they're going to have a great influence on her. I've made that clear since day one. On days when the girls weren't with me, I threw myself into internet dating. There were more misses than hits. This only made me further realize what a fool I'd been losing it with Lawrence. I compared every new man I met to him, and they always came up wanting. Exactly. Like I said, if she found a guy who was made more money than her ex-husband, who had more assets, looked equally as good, if not better physically, I don't think she'd be writing this thing bitching and complaining, because then she felt like, okay, it was worth it. But no, shocker, a mid to late 40s woman, single mom with 3 kids, who hasn't worked in ages. Now she obviously has, I'm assuming works now, has to do something in spite of alimony or whatever. It's not exactly a catch. Maybe she looks darn good for her age in the mid-40s, late 40s. Who knows? I've seen darn good-looking women in their 40s. But it does not compare to darn good-looking girls in their 20s or 30s. And the type of guy that she would feel as a prize, as a catch, that her girlfriends would see as a prize and a catch, the odds are those guys are going to want women much younger, without kids, and a tighter ass, and stuff like that. My eldest, who's now 14, is very much aware of how much I regret what has happened. Yet though she was initially keen for us getting back together, now they have pretty much adapted to our circumstances. She reports back to me about the odd date Lawrence goes on. Listening to her describing each woman is like a dagger to my heart. Yet I can't help asking her about which of the neighbors are interested in Dad and which women he has seen on more than one occasion. Lady, stop torturing yourself. It's over. Come on here, move on. One Christmas, after a rather thoughtful present arrived for me from her father, I did ask her whether she thought we could ever get back together, and it was a big fat no. She went out to outline what he thinks about everything from my newly yoga-honed figure to the change in my life path. I've retained a life coach. Apparently he prefers my curves and LOLs about my new professional direction. I met Tom on a dating app 2 years ago after a few stop-start relationships with other guys. By then, I reluctantly acknowledged that the odds of Lawrence and me reuniting were slim to none, and that I needed to move forward, at least as far as everyone else was concerned. She does need to move forward, except it is what it is. You gotta move forward, honey. But while Tom ticks every box, he makes me laugh, is a good cook, perfectly adequate in bed, and is great with my kids, he just isn't Lawrence. No, she said perfectly adequate in bed. No woman's dream guy is perfectly adequate in bed. So here I am in my late 40s, a divorcee who can't help looking back. I still make a big deal of birthdays, Father's Day and Christmas, because it's on those precious days when we all come together and I can fool myself we're a family again. And I know I will love Lawrence until the day I die. The end. Boo-hoo. Lady, you fucked up, okay? We all fuck up in life, all of us. But you fucked up royally. It is time to move on, okay? You're never getting back with your husband. You have pushed him too far, as a lot of guys have been pushed too far. And notice, he took a big hit in the divorce. But to Lawrence, the second she pulled that crap in the kitchen about blowing up over the freaking mug and everything else she said, he was done. He took the hit, and he's moving on. So there's a lesson for all you guys out there that are miserable. And then I tell her just how bad it was that he was willing to take the hit like he did and move on. And he's obviously dating, and he's not going to have a problem, you know. But for her finding a guy she really sees as a prize, that's going to be very challenging. Her expectations were way above reality when she split up. And notice how it was fueled by her girlfriends. You know? Yes, again, she was unhappy. All of us can go through stages of being unhappy, stressed, depressed, everything. You get help. You don't blow up with the people that love you, your family and all that. And instead of communicating in a healthy manner and all that, she took it out on her husband, her kids, and she said herself she was a tyrant. And he was barely getting any in bed, and it was boring to her, since she obviously avoided it, and he obviously stayed for the kids. But when she pushed him too far, he was done. So there you go, guys. The gal that, once again, another one that had a good marriage, had all that. There were problems like anybody else can have in relationships. Didn't seek the proper, healthy way of resolving them, pushed them too far, and is done. And now she's regretting it. How many times have we heard this type of story? So I don't feel bad for her. And the only thing she can do is just, she says she's getting her ass in shape, good for her, and accept reality and move on. But there you go. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.